Henry the Navigator in the 15th century was the first white man to explore Africa. Now, I'm sure everyone can guess what happened after he saw the natives and Africans, these funny-looking black people. He went back to his homeland in Europe. He told all his buddies about these funny-looking animals that he saw, and soon enough, they enslaved the African race. At the same time, in the 15th, a couple of years later, in the 1554, George Best described what he saw. He saw this woman from Bangladesh, and he said that she looked like she had skin as dark as coal. Soon, Americans also saw the merits once America was discovered, and they saw the merits of slavery, and soon enough, they were enslaving the Africans too. And you're wondering why? Well, they were ignorant. They didn't realize that Africans, although they looked different, although their skin color wasn't white, were indeed the same as us. So with that in mind, I have a question for you. Before Henry the Navigator discovered these blacks, in the minds of society, in the minds of Europe, who was at the time the most powerful, the most influential, the most rich, to them, did blacks exist? Well, the answer is, to them, no, they didn't exist. Before this time period, they had never been to Asia. Everyone knows in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and he discovered people with brown skin. So, with that being stated, here's one more question. Currently, if you can't see it, and not everyone can acknowledge that it exists, does that mean it's not real? I'm here to talk to you about spirits and the idea that there's a world beyond our current perception. Although not everyone can see it, it does indeed exist, because although science can't prove either way, there is always ignorance in the world, and there's always more to learn from everything around us. So I have 3 reasons why I believe that spirits exist. I want you to consider what reality really is. Number 2, I want you to acknowledge the idea that knowledge is an ever-changing thing that is acquired through individual experiences and knowledge gained in your personal life. And also, we should think about Plato and his idea of the pursuit of the ultimate knowledge. So, what really is reality? Tell me who gets to decide that spirits are real? Who gets to decide, that they aren't real? If Tommy and Joe and Smith all think that spirits aren't real, then are they not real? Or, what if Samantha is like, I've always been open to the idea, and my mom has always believed in it, so I honestly am open to the idea that maybe they can be real. Well, I talked to Nadia Raza, who's a sociologist instructor here at Lane Community College, and she suggests that that reality may be this massive, ever-changing thing. It's, so massive, in fact, that it differs with each individual perception of reality, depending on their past experiences, their past knowledge gained, and it's just this big, huge thing. I have this book here by Rita Carter. It's called Mapping the Minds. She talks about the brain and its functions and how things exist. She talks about how we have 2 of everything. We've got 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 hands, 2 eyes, and in the same way, we have 2 pieces of our brain. We've got the left side and the right side of our brain. The left side of your brain analyzes things, and it uses knowledge, and from that knowledge that you have, it makes deductions. That's all it is. Anything in life is just one big deduction. The right side of your brain, on the other hand, it absorbs energy from the world, and it translates it into visual-based knowledge. So your left brain might see this fuzzy white thing and assume, using past experiences, it might go, I've seen something like that. I think it's a cup. Your right side of the brain will see this cup, but it won't understand what it is. So that's how the brain functions. So with that knowledge in mind, every brain is different. Past experiences depend. So if you believe in spirits, the spirits are real. It's the same for everything in life. The world is constantly evolving. 100 years from now, we'll be looking back at people in this time and age and be like, wow, they were ignorant, they were kind of stupid in this way, You know, a couple hundred years ago, Farmer Joe was living in Virginia. He saw the first Africans come to America in the 1600s. And he saw these Africans, and he was like, him and all his buddies looked at these Africans, and he was like, oh, they're animals. It was a known fact. Africans, they were animals. They all believed that. That's just how it was. Now, nowadays, you know, we consider, and we know this, that what was a normal fact back then is indeed a crazy notion now. And it's the same for spirits. Some things may be crazy now, but, some things may be normal now. In the future, it'll be considered crazy. Plato himself, although he stated that humans are compelled to obtain this ultimate knowledge, which is kind of like the pursuit of all the knowledge in the world, you know, he said that it is impossible to obtain all this knowledge without using three things. You have to use your mind's eye to obtain this ultimate knowledge. You have to use your senses to obtain this knowledge. And you have to not use only your physical senses. So Plato says, you can see this table and it exists, but what more is there? Just like the knowledge of people of color other than white weren't considered to exist before the 1500s, so is the same for spirits in a world that not everyone can collectively see. Many of us have seen things that we can't explain. Many of us believe things that we have never seen. That's what religion is. That's what having faith is. We feel things that we can't understand, like love, like faith. That's what it all is. Society brushes aside these things that aren't sure, and they call people crazy. But you know what I believe? I believe that crazy is a state of the mind, just like sanity is. Ugo Betti, an Italian poet, once said that at any given moment, I open my eyes and I exist. But before I opened my eyes, for all eternity, what was there? And that's the question. Thank you.